Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. For this AITA episode, a young man was adopted as a baby, and somehow, his bio parents found out where he lives, and contacted him to demand he donate bone marrow to his sick birth father, and says they're going to sue him if he refused. Now let's read this saga. Original post. I, 17 male, am adopted. My birth parents weren't able to care for a newborn, and I ended up in foster care because of it. I was adopted by my family when I was 2. I have a very happy life, one I likely wouldn't have with my birth parents. About a month ago, my birth parents got into contact with my family. Long story short, my birth father is sick and needs a bone marrow transplant. They are on a wait list but haven't heard back just yet. I am the only child they ever had, and odds are I am a match. Pretty much they wanted my parents to get me tested and then donate my marrow to him. My parents told me that it's up to me, and after some thought, I said no. I don't know them other than they gave birth to me. They have had no part in my life whatsoever, and now they suddenly need me. Well, they send my parents a nasty message saying they can sue to force me to donate my marrow. I do feel a little bad, but I feel like this isn't my problem. Am I in the wrong here? Edit, sorry. Right after I posted, I went to the store with my mom. Just wanted to clear up some things I read in the comments. I have no contact or anything with my birth parents. From what my parents told me, I was put into foster care when I was less than a month old. That is how they got me, and they decided to adopt me, which was finalized when I turned 2. I have 4 siblings and I have a great life. They told me when I was old enough that I am adopted, but outside of that, I had no idea who my birth parents were or what they even looked like. Someone said I should do it because what if I need medical information, want to get to know them, or something like that. Yeah, no. I have no desire to get to know these people. None. I have no desire to seek out grandparents, cousins, and uncles. I don't want to know if some form of rare cancer runs in the family, because they are not my family. I haven't spent 17 years of my life with them. Why would I want to get to know them? Edit 2. For those of you who keep saying, you should reconsider it. How about you donate to him? My parents told me to think about. I thought it, and the answer is no. No, I'm not doing it. That's it. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not wrong, I'm no doctor, but I hear donating bone marrow can be a very risky procedure. I almost burst out laughing in the freaking office when I read they'd sue you to force you. They'll be laughed out of court, assuming they even get that far. When I signed up for the registry, I was told that now there are 2 methods to donate. The most common method involves removing the marrow from your blood, and is the same as any blood donation. It is very easy to sign up, by the way. There is a website where they will send you a swab. You swab yourself and put it back in the mail. Not wrong, I donated bone marrow to my sister 5 years ago. It was no small thing. I had complications with the surgery, couldn't walk for 2 weeks, and other things. It was really, really painful. I was going to give you sort of a pep talk about doing it anyway, since you would be potentially saving a life, even if it's the life of a complete stranger. That was until I read the line about how they threatened to sue you to force you to donate. That's the most tragically hilarious thing I've ever read. You cannot force a person to undergo a voluntary surgery. You should call their bluff. Indeed, not wrong, especially after the suing part. Wish them good luck with that. They didn't want you then, they won't have you now. Also, went through the procedure as well. I raise you're not walking for 2 weeks, with bordering needing a blood transplant, not being able to work for over a month, and having to take medication to get my hemoglobin levels up again for months. I also couldn't lift my own baby for weeks, aside from the not walking. The pain meds also barely worked, so the pain was horrible for well over a week before it got bearable with paracetamol. Took much heavier ones before that, as if they were candy. I now have 14 scars on my lower back that I still feel sometimes. It's been well over a year. Surgical donation is no joke. And the dialysis one is not exactly a ride in the park either, thanks to those meds you have to take beforehand. Not wrong. How dare they threaten you like that? They gave up all rights to you at birth, and are now still not wanting a relationship, just for you to undergo a medical procedure to save his life. Way to go, guys. They could have asked to meet you so they could plead their case, but they went nuclear. Ignore them. Now for the first update. It's early, I'm getting ready for school between typing this. Read more comments this morning, and again let me clear something all. My egg and sperm donors didn't lovingly give me up. I was taken. My parents don't know the exact reason because that information was never released to them. They were just told, and I quote, it wasn't a good environment for a child. I was taken. Even if they had given me up, doesn't mean I owe them anything. Not like I asked to be born like every freaking child on this green earth. If being born means I am suddenly in debt to them, I would have been the slowest sperm you ever seen. I would have happily raced into a sock. Y'all can be a bunch of hypocrites. In one breath you say there are kids in foster care who need a home. Well, I was a foster kid who was given a home by 2 loving parents. Then in the next breath you are saying, what about your family? I have a family. They have raised me for 17 years. Medical history. Some very helpful people have privately messaged me to let me know that in 2021, I get all that stuff without ever having to speak to these people again. Ever. Amazing how far science has come, right? I'm going to be showing this to some of my friends today because I have to admit, I'm over it. It's not my problem if this man dies. And again, some people have pointed out in the comments, odds are, I wouldn't be a match anyway. And he has been luck getting a donor off the list, and it will be faster than waiting on me to get tested only to be told I'm not a match anyway. And again, with those on your hill screaming, well, wouldn't you donate to a stranger? I donate blood mostly because it gets me out of PE class. I like donating blood. If someone receives that blood, then congratulations. I put no more thought into it besides that. Even if they had come to my parents and said, hey, you adopted our son, and well, we need a favor. Sorry to ask blah blah. My answer would have still been no. I did my own research and found plenty of stories of kids who were used like gold mines for their genetic materials by their parents to save their siblings or a family member. And that is all they were to their families, someone who had the right match. I don't owe them anything. I don't care if she spent 8 hours in labor with me. They aren't my family. I have a wonderful family who are supporting me right now. Also, my parents are working on finding how the heck they even knew where I was, because my adoption was a closed one. They had their rights terminated when I was taken. They shouldn't know anything about me. I don't know if they are contacting a lawyer or anything. I know they are pretty upset about all of this. I have to get to school later. Now for the second update. I know this is long overdue. I started college. Life and COVID put things on hold for a bit. Long story short, I didn't donate the bone marrow. My birth parents started harassing my family on the regular. Texts, phone calls, letters, showing up at places, resulting in calls to the police. They were arrested. My adoption had been closed, but they used some shady private investigator to find me and basically just showed up on the doorstep demanding my bone marrow. My family did press charges. As of right now, as far as I am aware, they are still sitting in a prison cell while they wait for their day in court, as things are still delayed due to the cough. I guess my sperm donator's illness wasn't that serious or he got a donation. I don't know. Anyway, just thought I would update this old post. I'll answer questions if you have them. That is it. Edit. Someone asked why I was taken. Honestly, I still don't know the full story, nor do my parents. They said they asked but never got the full answer. The answer they told me was someone called the police and told them to do a welfare check on my sperm and egg donator, complaining they constantly heard a baby, meaning me crying. Meds may have been involved, which my parents think so. I was placed in foster care and from there I was adopted. Why did they find me? My father feels they wanted money, and the bone marrow story was just a lie. We only based this off of the fact my sperm donor seems fine. We don't know if he got the bone marrow from someone else or whatever, but we think the story was made up in order to harass us and get money from my parents. We aren't rich, just middle class. My mom has her business and stay-at-home mom, while my dad is an electrician. Did I ever sign up to donate bone marrow? No, I did not. I'm not comfortable with that, but I still donate blood. What about genetics? I haven't gotten tested for anything of yet. Other family? I don't care. During that time, someone reached out to me on Facebook claiming to be an aunt. I didn't reply the message. Honestly, I don't blame you for your decision, as all of your points are valid. They didn't have a right to do what they did, morally or legally. Hope you enjoy life at college. Jail most likely, because they haven't had their day in court yet. Nonetheless, great update. Have a great time in college, OP. The reality is, the moment they started harassing or pressuring you, you didn't qualify as a donor, at least here. Donors must be 100% voluntary without any pressure. I'm glad your parents protected you. I went back and read the original post, where people are saying what about your medical history? That's the weakest reason in the world for a donation. You can get a medical profile that covers most things these days through DNA testing, if you wanted to know badly enough. Good on you for sticking to your guns. Good luck in college. Fun fact, at his age, he didn't qualify from the beginning. Sperm and egg donors were trying to con him, or his real adoptive parents, in some way. Minors donate bone marrow to relatives all the time. Siblings are frequently the best match for obvious reasons. We allow toddlers to donate even if they are too young to understand what's happening to them, as long as the ethics committee signs off on it. If you're just Googling and not involved in medicine, you probably saw that the minimum age to donate bone marrow is 18, which is true for stranger donation and services like Be the Match. There is risk to the donor and not much benefit to the donor in stranger donation, and so a donor needs to be an adult to consent to the procedure. For siblings, there is risk, but there is a benefit to having a sibling live and significant downsides to having a sibling die, including both the direct impact to a young child of losing a sibling and the impact to a young child of having grieving parents. The death of a child has a huge impact on the entire family, which changes the calculus of the risk or benefit of donating bone marrow. That's why minor siblings are allowed to donate to each other and to their parents, but minors aren't allowed to donate to stranger. Now for the last story. Am I wrong for refusing to let my brother meet my son after what he told me at my husband's funeral? My late husband passed away from a car accident when I was 4 months pregnant. It's been difficult without him, but my family did so much to support me, and I moved in with them month after. At the funeral, my older brother asked for a minute to talk, then asked me if I really wanted to go through with my pregnancy. I was shocked when I heard this, but even more shocked when he suggested that I make the right decision, not an emotional decision, and reconsider having my son. He gave many reasons why, including the fact how single or widowed mom are considered too much of baggage for so many men to date. I lost it on him and kicked him out. That was the last time we saw each other. My son is now 3 weeks old. Whole family met him and were happy to welcome him. My parents asked if I could let my brother come meet my son even for a few hours. I refused, but they said I was making a mistake robbing my son of a future loving relationship with his uncle. They asked that I don't let my emotions dictate a decision that might have a lasting impact, but I said no. My extended family got involved and started pushing, especially after my brother started insisting, saying my husband was a dear friend of his, and what I'm doing right now would make my husband upset if he saw it. Am I being bitter and selfish? Now for the comments. Not wrong. Every time he says how much of a dear friend he was, remind him of that talk at his dear friend's funeral. Heck, remind the whole damn family of it. Repeatedly remind them all, until your child is old enough to understand what you are saying. Not wrong at all, OP. Remind him that he didn't want you to keep your child, so he should just imagine or pretend that you didn't. And that he called this child baggage. Not wrong. You don't have to allow anyone in your child's life that you don't want to. That includes family. Your brother said some pretty awful and tactless things while you were still at the funeral of the father of your child. I'm assuming he also hasn't bothered to apologize, but still feels he is entitled to have a relationship with your son, and has no problem emotionally manipulating you in order to get what he wants. Yeah, no, you're not in the wrong here. Tell your extended family that the discussion is closed and anyone who brings it up again will not be seeing your son for a long time. If and when you want your son to have a relationship with your brother, you will let him know. You don't have to allow anyone in your child's life that you don't want to. That includes family. I say this as someone who loves my nieces with all my heart, but uncles aren't actually that big a deal. Most kids could take or leave their uncles, even if those uncles are heavily involved in their lives. It's not like you're depriving your children of some quintessential childhood experience by not bringing a particular uncle around. Absolutely agreed. And that's from a guy whose uncle played an essential role in the makeup of who I am today. Uncles play the role of broadening a kid's horizons, whether that's as small as showing you hobbies that your parents don't have, or as big as introducing you to political ideologies that you otherwise might not encounter until years later. Uncles can have little impact on your growth, or big impact. And if you feel he will have a big negative impact, you have every right to hold off contact, until you see clear evidence that he's examined and fixed every last awful piece of himself. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. It's always said that people shouldn't jump into marriage too soon, and should have a long engagement till you really get to know someone, and watch out for red flags that could be a deal breaker for you in a relationship. Well, that's what the OP of this first story did. He found out something his fiancée did that he couldn't stomach, and tried to break it off amicably, and he got blindsided when she opted to do something so nasty that could ruin his life to get back at him for dumping her. Let's read the story. Original post. She, Rose, 30 female, has been at her company for the past 6 years, and she works an office job in a non-customer facing company. We have also been together for the past 5 years and put off our wedding until after graduating and after COVID. Recently, she was chosen to be promoted to a position in a different department after someone was leaving the company, and we knew about the promotion for some time. The woman who was leaving wasn't leaving until a certain date, but she was excited about the raise and getting promoted to a manager after years of wanting to be. However, as she neared closer to the date of the promotion, she began to ghost her job and ignore various warnings and calls about absences because of her anxiety surrounding it. Anxiety she never chose to voice until after she had been fired for ghosting them for weeks. She would go to work in the morning and return at the time that her normal shift would end. But after she got fired, she wanted to talk to me. And she told me that she lied about going to work for the past 2.5 weeks. When I asked her what happened, she said that her team wanted to throw her a small party to celebrate her promotion before she would leave. But the party made her anxious because she doesn't like to be celebrated because it's embarrassing. She also said that public speaking gave her anxiety too, and after learning that, she would have to say a few words in a bigger joint meeting after receiving the new promotion. She couldn't bring herself to go to work, and found other things to do during the time she was supposed to be there. She said that she'd often stay in her car on her phone, or go to the gym or a friend's place sometimes, and over the course of those 2 weeks, she ignored calls and emails from her job on her absences, until she was fired after numerous warnings. She since said that she wants to go to therapy to work on her anxiety before looking for a new job, and she asked if I could cover the expenses in the meantime. I told her no, because first, she lied about going to work for over 2 weeks, got dressed, and only wanted to talk after getting fired. I told her that I didn't appreciate her lying, or entitlement to ask me to cover bills for a few months before she searches for a new job. And she said that I was being unfair, because she's planning to go to therapy. While I told her that therapy is good, I said I needed a break to reconsider our relationship and engagement away from her, and she was fine with staying with a friend for a few days. However, when I called 2 days later and said I was done, and wanted her to remove whatever belongings she didn't take with her, she and her friend began posting that I hit her when we talked, which is why she's breaking it off. Aside from texting mutual friends, she's also reached out to my job and had me talk to about it from my boss when I had no clue and found out during the meeting. I'm writing this because I want to ask if anyone's been in anything similar and how to manage this. I feel I was respectful in taking 2 days to myself before asking her to remove her things whenever worked for her, but she just keeps posting about me harming her and making fun of her for seeking therapy. Edit. The thing that made me the most upset was when she said that she would not go back to work for a few months until therapy was done. And now that she left her company, she wanted me to pay for her to go to therapy too after she lost her benefits, something I forgot to add in my post, along with her saying that I can afford it because of my salary. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You have every right to be upset. This is borderline/dissociative behavior. I wouldn't marry her. This behavior is not a small matter. I feel like I was pretty direct with her after taking a little over a day to think and tell her that I was done, and nicely asked her to remove her things, only for her to start her social media stuff and calling my job. Serious character flaw. Lying to you and pretending are huge red flags. You should not be alone with her again given her allegations. She lost her benefits after leaving, said she wouldn't go back to work for a few months until after therapy was done, wanted me to pay for therapy because I can afford it with my salary, and went to such lengths to lie and even bringing spare clothes in her car after getting dressed every morning to pretend to go to work. Look, she's got problems, big problems, but instead of facing them she hides, blames others and tries to manipulate you into being okay with this. Oh, and now outright spreading hateful and harmful lies. Nope, you're done nothing wrong. In fact, your choices are right. Now, to block her in every way and do damage control. Grieve, but get away from her and anyone who supports her BS. P.S. Sorry you've had to go through this, but though you don't feel lucky now, you've made a very lucky escape. Literally got talked to at my job after she called them. Already blocked her on a lot of things, but the job thing surprised me. It's like she sabotaged her own life, job and wants to take you down with her. Sorry mate, but she's not to be allowed anywhere near your life. You might need to get something like a cease and desist letter by a lawyer sent to her or even a restraining order, but yet her actions destroyed your relationship. And now for the update. We would have been married already if not for COVID making us delay plans, but after everything that happened, I believe it was for the best. A manager in a different department of her office was retiring, and she was chosen to be promoted in her place. Her promotion wouldn't start until the woman left, and it would have been the first she's ever been a manager in her life. However, as the promotion neared, she decided to ghost her job and pretend to go to work after years of wanting to become a manager, and it resulted in her being fired. She'd leave for work at her usual morning time and return in the evening as she always did, but even after she was fired, she didn't come clean until another week had passed. When I asked her what happened, she said that her team wanted to throw her a small party before her last day and that it gave her anxiety. She also said that she hated being celebrated and felt anxious about having to speak at a joint meeting after receiving the promotion. So, she pretended to go to work instead, ghosting work calls too, getting dressed in the morning for 2 weeks before getting fired and going to a friend's or the gym with a change of clothes. When she came clean, she said that she wanted to go to therapy to work on herself and that she wanted me to pay for it because I could afford it while also covering her side of rent. And that was when I said I needed a break after her lying for 3+ weeks to reconsider everything. I told her I needed a day, and she agreed to stay at a friend's. And 2 days later, I told her I was done and wanted her to collect her things, but that was when she started to slander me. What happened since? As I stated last time about her response, she took to Twitter and said that I harmed her after she admitted her anxiety to me. And she also wrote that she decided to break up with me after she opened up, and that I became aggressive and was against mental health. She also reached out to my job, which led to me getting called to the office. And since my last post, her friend has joined her in spreading lies too, the friend who she was staying with. Stacy, her friend, fake name, posted about how my ex-fiancé crashed with her because I was aggressive in the past and didn't want her to accept the promotion. She also posted that I was jealous and insecure, and threatening her to not accept it too. I've since reached out to a lawyer who has been helping me a ton, but I've lost some friends who decided to take her side. And she didn't even have the decency to get her stuff. She sent 2 of her friends while she waited in the car, completely refusing to see me at all. And while I didn't lose my current job, she called another job that she knew I was interviewing for some time, and I haven't heard back about my second interview since. I'm discussing how we can address that with my lawyer at the moment, but I wanted to ask how to move on from not only her, but also the friends who took her side and how it's crept into other areas too. It's just been really stressful seeing a new side of her through her lies, and it's really come as a shock in many ways. It's like she's done a 180 so fast, and it's really hard to focus on other things or gain sleep too. Having a lawyer is the best thing you can do right now, and he will be able to go after them for slander, and could sue them, especially her, for all the damages this is causing you. To completely get away from them, you may want to think about moving and cutting all ties, and get a new phone number. Also, lock down all social media to private. Purge any shared friends from social media to prevent them giving her information. Do not under any circumstance meet with her without witnesses of your choosing present and preferably in public. I wish you the best, and I hope you keep us updated. What does the lawyer say? He said it was best to not engage in anything on Twitter or social media like her at the moment, because it could hurt us if I say something emotionally. He's right, say nothing. Their posts will be used as evidence against them, so don't engage. They are hanging themselves. Make sure you get copies and screenshots with timestamps too. OP, listen to your lawyer. All I want to add to that is after all the legal stuff is over, if any of your friends who sided with her come back to you and apologize, I'd recommend you consider forgiving them. After all, this sort of thing is rather rare. Mostly when women accuse their partners of this stuff, it's the truth, so good people believe them. That's why it's a particularly terrible thing to do, to lie about something like this, because it's so hard to get justice for victims as it is, and lying about it only makes it harder for people to trust. So, your friends who are supporting her are doing the right thing, even though it's in support of a lie. They're still good people, even though they've been misled. Once you've been able to prove that she's lying, it shouldn't be too hard, since she made the mistake of lying about why she left her job as well. The good ones should come back with an apology. Think about forgiveness so you don't miss out on the good people in your life. After all, this sort of thing is rather rare. It is not rare at all. There are so many messed up people who will target partners who leave them with smear campaigns out of spite, including many men. Usually, they are good at it too since they have had their whole lives to practice. Now for the last story. Big blow up with my wife. Background: my wife and I have been married 16 years. We have 2 kids, 7 and 13, and the last 8 years or so could legally be defined as sexless, with the last 4 years consisting of bedroom activities an average of 2 times per year. The lack of intimacy is not my choice. I will also note that she still co-sleeps with our youngest, and we have slept in separate bedrooms since 2009. We are both pretty attractive. I stay fit with running. She just luckily looks great for her years. Slowly over the years, her rejection has eaten away at me to the point that there is zero intimacy. Zero. I refuse to try anymore and go through feeling unwelcomed. Above the intimacy problems, I also feel unwelcomed by her as a husband and father. Many of the traits I have that attracted her to me in the beginning of our relationship, she now despises as my role as a dad. I am generally a loner. I have a small circle of friends, but I generally avoid the social hierarchy altogether and have no interest in following groups and whatnot. I guess you can say I fit the Omega role a bit, but I'm not into video games and crap. I've always had peculiar hobbies and interests, like turtles, fighter planes, and music. I am also very creative and enjoy various arts such as painting. Anyway, when we dated, she saw these traits as refreshing and different from the endless males out there who follow their pack of buddies, and so on. But now, things are so different. All of my interests and hobbies are met with negativity, cynicism, and sometimes ridicule. This has been a problem in our relationship since the beginning. I am also not the typical, fuddy-duddy boring as heck dad stereotype. I love rock music. I can still ride a skateboard. I like to drink beers on weekends and listen to trippy music or get taken away by laughter. I typically ponder beauty in nature and often have my head in the clouds. I'm probably somewhat autistic. Anyway, there is a general feeling of not being who she wants me to be. Add to this our lack of intimacy, and you can get a sense of how I feel when she is around. She finally got a part-time job a few nights a week after not having worked for 15 or so years since the kids were born. I have worked full-time non-stop. Since getting this job, my alone time with the kids has been wonderful. The house is much more peaceful when she is not in it, and my kids generally like the things we do. When she is home, it is always stressful. The blow-up. I took the kids to my parents over the weekend to celebrate my mom's birthday. We had a wonderful day with family, my sister, her family, my parents. It was summer magic, and I had no one there giving me a hard time about everything I did or did not do, or how I did or did not do it or whatever. And no one to say, "You're having another beer," and so on. The day was magic, and the evening came and we decided to watch a movie. Scrolling through, we all decided to watch Borat, and we all laughed hysterically. The movie ended, we all went to bed. The next day, upon getting home, my wife learned we had watched Borat, and totally freaking flipped out. She screamed at me and told me she was disgusted in me as dad. The next day, this continued with nasty texts saying she was disappointed in me as a dad. I owned up, yes, maybe I should have thought more about what movie, but everyone had a great time with family, all of us. The next day, it still continued, and she decided to take the kids to her mother's unannounced, probably to blow steam and badmouth me the entire time. That night as I was home alone, my parents alerted me that she also sent them a text displaying her dismay of the movie. They refused to share the text with me, which means it was probably nasty. My parents are wonderful, responsible grandparents. I promised them I would not escalate about her texting them. Today, I worked from home and my wife and kids returned from her mother's. I was immediately met with more disgust, texts from her, and more. This is day 3. Around dinner time, she had to poke again and mention it again. I completely lost it and ripped into her with a barrage of scornful content, including profanity, which I am not proud of, but it was time she had it. She was in complete and utter shock at my rebuttal, but I am so freaking done of feeling like a worthless piece of trash to her. She loves me, freaking BS. I told her I can't stand her, and that she is the one who insisted on this ridiculous level of disdain for 3 days straight over a stupid movie. I told her I'm sick of feeling like crap, and I will find someone else who actually values me. She almost tripped and fell as she left for work. And once again, the house is peaceful, just the kids and myself. It is wonderful. Now for the top advice. What I read was less about the movie and more about you two and some incompatible behavior. She blows up minor issues. She holds grudges. You feel as if she treats you horribly. You bottle things up. You don't let her know when you are upset with how she treats you. You both do not communicate with each other. Your thoughts, your feelings, co-parenting discussions, intimate life discussion, it's non-existent. So, the big questions to ask yourself. Are you happy in your relationship? Do you want to continue the cycle, as your children will build their future relationships on what was modeled to them as children by their parents? Like, if you settle for this behavior and stay stagnant, your children are likely to have similar relationships when they are older. What is keeping you in this relationship? Why are you afraid to leave this relationship? You told her you want someone who would support you and treat you better. Why not? Divorce, counseling, keeping your status quo is all on you. But you only have one life to live. Is this really how you want to live it? Waiting on those few moments away from your wife. Was going to reply to OP, but to be honest, I doubt if I could cover what I wanted to cover as eloquently nor as accurately as this. Why is everyone talking about you two need to communicate? Doesn't she know she's acting like a pain in the butt and stressing out OP? Some relationship problems aren't brought about by a lack of communication. One of the two partners can simply be an asshole. And this looks like one of the cases. It sounds like you're done with this marriage. Your wife doesn't respect you and is putting no effort into your marriage. Just go ahead and file for divorce. Don't talk to her anymore. Every time you go out, don't explain yourself anymore. Stay out later. Take your kids with you. Marriage is about going through problems together, but the moment they become the problem, it's over. Maybe, but perhaps OP can explain why they let it fester for so long. I'd first try a relationship therapist and see if it can be solved. I know this forum likes to scream divorce, but in case of kids, I'd think twice about that. And I'm speaking from experience. Divorce happening is easily the worst thing in my entire life. Not because I loved my ex so much, but because my kid suffers greatly.